You're listening to the Media Man Dan podcast, your place for music, movies, news, reviews, and interviews. Welcome to the show. Get ready to rock. Let's rock! What's up, guys, and welcome to the Media Man Dan podcast. Today, I have an awesome guest with me from the band Bridge the Gap. You can see the incredible artwork behind him and also on his hat. This is Chad of the band, the songwriter, the vocalist, the mastermind. How are you doing today, my friend?
So good, man. Been looking forward to talking with you.
Hell yeah, man. I was going to say, hell yeah, brother. If you watch Finn McKenty, you'll get that.
Right. I think of Hulk Hogan when I hear that, for whatever it's worth.
Oh, yeah, of course. Hulk Hogan made that the most famous. But yeah, most recently, that's what I've been hearing on YouTube.
Oh, he's the punk rock NBA guy, right?
Yes.
I used to watch a lot of his shit back in the day. I still do. It just depends on what subject matter he's covering, I guess.
I've been overdosing on him. Every single time he uploads, I'm like, I got to listen to this video at least one or two times while I'm working, just so I don't miss any jokes. And by the time that I hear it the third time in the car, I'm like cracking up like a wild man. It's hilarious to me. I don't know what
the man knows his stuff, man. He's like a walking hardcore punk rock metal encyclopedia.
Indeed he is. And he's got a great sense of humor on his second channel, which is his actual name, Finn McKenty. And so it's just roasting and blasting all of these artists that usually don't get touched on his main channel. It's pretty funny.
Oh,
all right. My first question for you. How are you doing today?
Swell, dude. Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
Hell yeah, man. How's the weather down there?
Sunny finally. Finally sunny in the Rockies. It's been a really dark and long winter, lots and lots of snow. And it's finally sunny, so that helps. Soaking in some of that vitamin D.
Nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful day up here as well. We just hit 70 degrees today. We're hitting 80 tomorrow. I'm up in Chicago. I assume because you said the Rockies. Are you in Colorado?
Yeah, so some of us are in Colorado. Some of us are in Utah. That's why it's not very easy when we do media or press interviews or anything to get us all in the same room because we live geographically in different places. So yeah, it's nice weather, so stoked for that.
Hell yeah. Do you think this is your year to make it big? You guys just dropped this brand new album and it's already awesome. I've listened to the album at least 7 times, probably 3 times today. Yes. It's very, very good, man.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. I don't know what the definition is of making it big. You know, when I was 19, 18, punk rocker, trying to quote unquote make it, maybe that would have been a phrase that resonated with me more. But nowadays, to me, the idea of making it big is just someone like you, anybody saying, yeah, I listened to your record and I dig it. To me, that's good. Like if that's all I get back as an artist, you know, because you throw something out into the void and then something comes back to you, and whatever that thing is that comes back to me, that's one of the most addictive, fun parts of creation.
I'm with you there. That's literally the entire reason that I have this podcast, is to throw as much as I can at my audience so that they can relate and then tell me what they want to see more of. So I get that. My own opinion on the making it big is to either nationwide or worldwide exposure for a new
Mm,
group, especially. It's very challenging these days with the entire world trying to make music streaming all the time. You have
right.
ways to get onto playlists. So also that's another way I'd say. Do you guys plan on pushing your music into a playlist at the end of the year?
Dude, honestly, I don't even know how to do that. So maybe my record label knows how to do that. People at Punk Rock Records, I don't know. Um, I've kind of anyone that knows somewhat of Bridge the Gap's history, like I'm getting back into publishing music and performing and all that after 20 years of setting it down. And so a lot has changed in the landscape since 2004, 2005 ish, which is the
Hmm.
last time I was really doing this hardcore. And so, I'm learning, I'm figuring it out. I'm trying to learn the nuances of how to get your music out. Back then, it was for an unsigned band or a no name band or whatever you want to call it. Um, it was tour, get in front of as many people as possible, do the best you can to network, but really just go out there, grind, tour, you know, ply your wares, sell, and hope that you can create enough momentum, for things to maybe, like you say, catch fire or make it big, etc. Now it's like, we've been a public band, or what's a good, we established our social media accounts and all that stuff right before we got signed, and that was like December-ish. And in 3 months, we have like 11,000 followers almost on Facebook and a couple thousand on Instagram and lots of listeners on the streaming services. And for us, we're like, what the heck is happening right now? Like, we don't even know. So we're just stoked to be meeting so many new people and getting our music out there. And it's been really, really fun, really gratifying.
Hell yeah, man. And I was going to say that you're absolutely well deserving of all the praise that you're getting, especially on the song My Creation. I think
Mm,
that is my favorite from the record. I don't know, it's because of the riffs or just the different style on this track as opposed to the others. The other ones are a bit more skate punk. They
mm-hmm,
have that Green Day-ish type of vocal delivery. And
mm-hmm,
this one has a mix of both, and the guitar work on this is really, really cool. And I could see that it's already at 11,000 streams. Anybody that has a Spotify account, go and give some more love to this band because truly these guys are going to make amazing music. And this is the way to start. You got to bump up one song, just one song, so that they can officially get onto one of those big playlists and then other people can find them and continue listening. But for right now, I'd say that in 3 months you've seen this incredible drastic change, but you're like, how did it happen? It's because you guys are together. You're persevering through everything. You said that you had a time where you weren't all together. I think that it was in your Spotify profile where you guys
mm-hmm.
had a long break, getting your lives together, families together, all of that. What made you guys come back together and decide that this is the time to do this?
Well, a lot of it is, being honest, a lot of it is just straight up serendipity. If you're a believer in things happening for a reason, um, it's just things kind of coming together when they were meant to, and how they were meant to, in the universes, however you want to think of it, the universe, God, whatever,
Mhm.
in its own good time. Because I never stopped writing music. I never stopped doing that. That's always been like my biggest passion in the world is playing and writing music. Like, honestly, I could forego every other aspect of being in a band. And this is nothing against my bros in the band because I love every single one of them. But I could forego every other aspect of band life if you said you can still create songs and publish. Like, that's the funnest thing to me, is just something coming out of nothing. And so I always just wrote songs, banked them, Rolodexed them, so to speak. And then, we all kind of go our separate ways. We get married, we have kids, we have careers, this and that. And it just kind of worked out to where when I started building a home studio and demoing these songs that I continued writing over the years, and then I started showing them to the guys, and they're like, yeah. And it just kind of worked out to where we were all in a point where we could kind of come together. And at first it was just creating a project, and then, no, let's go ahead and reform. we didn't use our old band name because that was then, and it's kind of that was its own thing, and we're going to let it be its own thing. And we reformed as a new band, but it just worked out well. Timing was right, and things just kind of took off. And when things, here's what I can tell you as a creative is when it takes on a life of its own, and it almost feels like there are unseen hands kind of like pulling it along, then you kind of know you're in the pocket, and you know you're where you're supposed to be, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's how it has felt for Bridge the Gap ever since myself and Jeff, our guitar player, we started getting together. And hey, check out, let's help me record these songs, and then help me arrange some of these songs. And then Jeff, you got a riff? Okay, cool. Let's put something to that. Or hey, lay a solo down on this. And so it's just been a joyous process, and then getting to reconnect, and then of course just all of the fun stories and fun experiences that have happened along the way. But serendipity would be the short answer.
Excellent. Well, I love that. And you're also able to collaborate within the time frame that you're allowing each other. And you said that, it's just by pure luck that you guys are able to get together and do all of this again. How is it with their times? Are they able to record at the same time as you? Do you guys do it digitally, or is it in person?
Well, when we recorded the album, we all physically went to the blasting room um, in Fort Collins, and recorded our parts and did our stuff. So in that respect, there's other ways, I guess, to skin the cat, especially nowadays, depending on how advanced you are individually. Like, do you know how to record at home? Do you have an interface? Do you know how to mic an amp? But like, so for demoing, you can do some of that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but if for recording like a high quality, high fidelity record, we all got together and showed up for a specific amount of time and tracked it.
Hell yeah. And you guys created the whole album all at once, or was it a couple of days,
It,
couple
it
of weeks,
was
I should say?
it was 14 days at the blasting room. And then I had some vocal trouble where um my voice went out, took a break, which is cool because like the way the blasting room does it, it's kind of unlike any other experience that I had before recording, which is in most cases you go in, focus is record the drums. All right, that takes however many days. Record the bass, that takes however long. Then
Mhm.
record the guitars, then the lead guitars, and then literally the last thing you do is lay down the vocals. And with the blasting room, their philosophy is a little bit different in that, yeah, of course, you lay the drums down first, but as soon as the drums are done, while we were tracking guitars and bass, Bill would sing me every single day. Like he would bring me, like after guitars were done during the day, I would come in and sing. And so, and it was good and bad. It was good in that the voice was being used every single day,
Mhm.
but he pushes you so hard, like as a vocalist, that eventually from disuse, I guess would be the best way to put it. I My voice went out. We rested a day, came back, went another 3 days, and then that was up to the point where we had the time booked. There were still a few songs that I wasn't able to complete vocals, so then we rebooked. I came back like I don't know 2 or 3 weeks later and
Mhm.
finished the vocals, and that was it.
All right. My next question is, what inspired your band's sound?
Well, just being a kid from the 90s, I got into skate punk as it's called now. Back
Mhm.
then in the 90s, we called it like new school punk rock or melodic punk, but mostly it just called it like new school. Like if you were to delineate punk rock genres back then, it'd be like, do you listen to hardcore? Do you listen to old school? Do you listen to or are you into like new school? And then emo kind of became a thing. And then you started hearing things like post punk. And then as time marched on, you got all these other, names for the different sub genres. But skate punk. So, my favorite band, Bad Religion. That to me is like, Bad Religion is the bottom line. So that inspired me um, as far as like influences Bad Religion, and they influence every single band from that scene. None of the bands from the '90s. I don't mean to speak for them, but this is just an opinion.
Mhm.
The '90s don't become what they became as far as like the skate punk thing as it's viewed now if Bad Religion doesn't do what they do, starting in 1988 with their seminal record "Suffer," which totally changed the game. And so that's kind of the basis. And then it's been kind of fun talking to people in different media and press interviews. They hear different influences in Bridge the Gap, and this song reminds them of this band or whatever.
Yep.
And a lot of it's valid. Some of it's it's valid. Period. If you have an opinion, your opinion is valid, and respect. But some really, it's like probably Bad Religion are their biggest influence, followed by maybe like Strung Out, Pulley, Pennywise, and we've drawn a lot of comparisons to No Use for a Name, which really surprises me because as much as I love No Use, I don't think they have ever been like a hardcore like influence on me per se.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been kind of cool to hear that and just try and wrap my brain around why that is and examine some of that stuff. But Epiphat sound, that's the short answer again from the 90s. The Epiphat kind of sound is what inspired me as a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid to start a band, learn how to play music, learn how to write songs. And I mean, that era of rock music, I mean, the 90s is looked back on, from the 10,000 foot view of rock history as kind of the birth of grunge,
mm-hmm.
a very short peak of pop punk coming in with the Green Day and then the Offspring and then later Blink, and then new metal kind of punctuating the decade. But the 90s to me have always been about the skate punk bands, and that stuff just really, really inspired us.
Hell yeah. Would you say that Bad Religion added on to the original style that like the Ramones were known for? Like the punk became that version of punk for the 90s, like it morphed into it.
I don't think, I'm sure Bad Religion has some sort of influence because whoever the progenitor is, they have some ultimate influence on things, and the Ramones are that's square one of punk rock. Bad Religion, though, Ramones were more the 3-chord rotation, almost just taking like 50s doo-wop rock and speeding it up, which is great. And I love the Ramones. I mean, Ramones, legends, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They got their just reward finally. But Bad Religion does have the melody side of things that you could maybe compare to Ramones, but they're more based in hardcore. Bad Religion was first a hardcore band, LA hardcore band.
Oh.
So oddly enough, you'd probably want to compare Bad Religion more to like a Black Flag than you would the Ramones or the Adolescents even, because the Adolescents were a hardcore band that would throw really cool 3-part harmonies and melody, both vocal and guitar melodies into their compositions. And then, so that was kind of like Bad Religion was kind of like their own version of that. And then in the late 70s, early 80s, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they took some time off. Brett Gurewitz wasn't in the band. Then he comes back, and in 1988, when they got back together and put out Suffer, they just like cracked into a whole different level of the equation. And they took the speed and ferocity and kind of dangerous, violent nature of hardcore, and then just slap melody, like the most addictive melodies you could imagine, and lyrics that were very deep and poetic and artistic at the same time. And it just became its own thing. So now it's like, you could say, are they influenced by Ramones? And I'm sure they are on some level, but like, to me, Bad Religion is its own thing. Like the Ramones are an institution, Bad Religion is an institution. And you put Bad Religion, I put Bad Religion on a pedestal, and I can see all the different tendrils that of where it connects and how it followed and how it kind of trickled downhill to all the other bands that came from that sound. Green Day, I would say, is probably more of a direct not copy, a direct influence. Ramones are more of a direct influence probably on a band like Green Day than Bad Religion. But both of those bands I freaking love. I'm a huge Ramones fan.
Hell yeah. Well, you're getting me into Bad Religion, so I appreciate that. I can see that you have true passion for this band. You've followed them probably their whole career as long as you've been born. And
Pretty much.
what was your home life like in order to get you into punk music? Was it more into the happier, poppier sound, and then you're like, oh, I want to be more edgy, or was it just like, oh, this is a new thing and my parents are cool with it?
I grew up in a broken home, parents divorced, yada yada, and so like a lot of kids from that situation, I really resonated with just the anti-authority component of punk rock. I also had a really cool mom, and my mom, who is no longer with us, R.I.P.
Mhm.
Uh, she was always very supportive of whatever music I was into. Like she would try to get into it. Um, when I started playing music myself, she was always like number one fan, etc. Um, but like Bad Religion, what was so cool about not just BR, but like the bands they directly influenced and that became contemporaries in the scene, like the No Effects and the No Uses, Pennywise, Good Riddance, especially lyrically, is that there wasn't just like "fu" lyrics, lyrical
Mhm.
content where it's like "screw the government," "my dad sucks," religion sucks. All it was a much higher level, uh, philosophy, um, and so it was when you get the album first come out or whatever, Bad Religion, and this again trickled down to all the bands. My favorite thing about it would be picking it up and reading the lyrics, because to me it was as important, if not more, than whatever the compositions were, the guitar parts, the drums, the guitar leads, whatever, like the lyrics. And that's a Bad Religion thing. Like no one was really hanging their hat on, maybe I'm painting with too broad of strokes here, but like Dee Dee Ramone writes a song, beat on the brat with a baseball bat. Oh yeah. No one's really trying to super analyze that, or Green Day Longview, or Blink 182, all the small things or whatever. It's pretty transparent on the surface what's happening there. Bad Religion, however, makes you have to kind of put on your thinking cap a little bit, and you go down the rabbit hole. And it makes, speaking for myself, I became a smarter, more aware, uh, more knowledgeable human being thanks to Bad Religion's music. Like that's, it makes you think. And it definitely makes you grab a thesaurus.
Well, that's the power of music. And also, yes, it's very educational. It works with the same part of your brain that is most creative. So, when you started writing your own lyrics, when you started having songwriting passion enter into your daily routine, what was it that really clicked that said, I need to write this down instead of just thinking about it?
I don't know, dude. That's a good question. And I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but um, all I could really tell you is when I chose to write lyrics, um, I'm usually writing about issues that are bothering me in one way or another, whether it's interpersonal, relationship, you know, politics, sociological stuff, whatever. It's something that is stuck in my craw, so to speak. And I won't be quite as so pretentious as to say, like, this is how I find catharsis, because I don't think just writing a song and getting it out of you solves a problem per se.
Mhm.
It can be, of course, very therapeutic, um, but it's just kind of the things that bother, inspire, trigger, etc. And back when I first started writing lyrics, it was, it was pretty sophomoric in terms of the sophistication of where I would start. And like for someone, I can go back and look at some of the lyrics or listen to some of the songs from when I'm like 19, and I kind of cringe at some of the stuff I would write. And not because it wasn't true, or not because I didn't feel that way, but just there's probably a better way to say it
Mhm.
than the way I did back then. And so, that's part of learning and growing as a human being. And as an artist, you're developing your craft, trying to be aware of yourself when you can. But really, it's like I think the best songs lyrically are the songs that are really just describing how the artist feels. period, about something. It's more about like, oh, you're addicted to drugs. How does that make you feel? Or,
Mhm.
oh, your girlfriend broke up with you or your wife cheated on you. How does it make you feel? Oh, you hate the guy that's in power in the White House right now, or the party that has the majority or whatever. How does that make you feel, etc. And then if you go down that path, that's when you can start finding like inspiring things that if it inspires you, maybe it'll inspire somebody else.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you don't usually go for the simplistic on the surface type of look at something. You're going for a deep dive into what it actually means to the person that's writing it, and that would be, of course, you. In this case, let's talk about like that big hit. Like what inspired my creation?
One thing I've learned is being too literal with my own interpretation of songs. And I don't mean to sound pretentious, but like I want that song to mean to you whatever it means to you, and I want it to mean to her whatever it means to her and him, etc. But in the interest of good faith, to answer your question, I'd say it's really a song that is about um, the process of losing your individual sovereignty. Okay, going into bondage, whether that's a drug problem, alcohol, chemical dependency, or an addiction to this or that. There's a lot of different ways that we as human beings find ourselves in bondage. And my creation is about the tragic irony, oftentimes in those situations where, yes, we find ourselves in bondage, we find ourselves in a hell, but it's a hell of our own creation. It's a hell of our own making. Like we made this ourselves, like we put ourselves here.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you get to that level, speaking for myself, like you go, wait a minute, this sucks. I hate it. I put myself here, but why do I feel so comfortable in
Mhm.
this situation? Like,
It
why do I feel like I
becomes
belong here?
it's like a Stockholm
Um,
syndrome.
yes, that's a really interesting angle on it too, actually. So it's basically just about, those kind of tropes. And it can be anything, like I said, from addiction to um, chemicals, pornography, take your pick. I mean, our phones, right? Our everyday life of social media can become an addiction, but usually don't come with the kind of ramifications, the seriousness anyway, of ramifications to some of those other things.
It's definitely a struggle with self-worth as well if you're struggling with anything, because you're looking at something to take over that satisfaction that you're not getting. And it's an artificial satisfaction, but like you said, you get comfortable, you get complacent in this addiction, this attitude, this lifestyle. So of course, this is a really good song, by the way. I like now I
Thank
love
you.
it even more because yeah, it's got like I love the deep meaning, man. That's what I look for. I'm one of those people that analyzes the music after hearing it like 100,000 times. I finally go into the lyrics and I say, "Holy shit, that was incredible!" Like I had
Yeah,
that happen to me. I was trying out for American Idol and I sang Yesterday by the Beatles. So I'm singing the
nice.
simple melody and I'm like, okay, I got the song, I got the lyrics, whatever. And then I finally read the meaning and I was like, oh my gosh, that's genius. Because you're
Yeah,
thinking it sounds like a happy song. It's not.
right.
It's like it's so different when you can analyze what the actual writer was going for. Like you can take it in as opposed to what the music around it is saying to your ears, because your ears are like, oh, this is nice.
Right. Sometimes, dude, it's like when you get to that low point, and I'm talking the lowest of the low points, the only inspiration you can find is the admission of defeat. And that sounds counterintuitive. Um, but sometimes that's all that's left to you. And when you get to that point, it's pretty sketchy trying to dig your way out of it. But that's kind of what my creation is: finding inspiration after you have really defeated yourself. Honestly,
It's like
that's really what
a
it is.
satisfaction in a vulnerable state,
Well put.
true satisfaction as opposed to artificial satisfaction. Love it.
That's right.
That's deep, man. That's real deep. My big question for you, have you guys toured before as a band, whether you previous project or most recently?
Our old band, Unfold, yeah, we toured a lot, especially west of the Mississippi. Um, but this, so Bridge the Gap, we are, uh, I can't remember what you said at the top of before we started talking when this was going to air, but our first show performance is April 14th, and we're doing it in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is kind of a middle point for all of us.
Mhm.
Um, and that'll be our first performance is Bridge the Gap. And we're in the process. We've been in the process the last month or so of trying to sketch out around our lives and our schedules and our commitments and stuff. Uh, some live stuff, whether it's little tour, like a 5-6 day thing here. Maybe we'll try and go to Canada and do a week in Canada. Maybe at some point we're trying to put together maybe doing Europe for 2 weeks, or little tiny things that we can throw in there around what we juggle in our daily lives and our families and everything else. So Bridge the Gap, it's not meant to be a full-time thing. It's, we're not pinning our hopes and dreams on if Bridge the Gap makes it. And I think that's one of the reasons, unlike what we in our old days, like our dream was to make it in our old band Unfold. And our definition of making it was just, we didn't have to hold a job. If we could just live off the band, even if
Mhm.
it's meager living, that was us. That's how we defined our success, not becoming rock stars per se, but just like, if we can just find a way to not have to punch a clock and get to do what we want to do, that was our definition of success. Now our definition of success is have fun and make it fit around our lives. And so that's what we're currently trying to figure out how to do. And we've had a lot of opportunity come our way because of how the record's been received. And so we're just trying to figure out how to best attack that right now. But I wish I could give you more information at this very moment.
Mhm.
But there will be more to come on that. So just stay engaged with us on social media.
Hell yeah. All right. I was gonna say as well, what is your favorite state that you visited for a tour
Oh man, I don't know. That's a good question.
or city?
City. Well, I would say Oregon was always one of our favorite places to play. California was always cool, depending on where, because it's very, back then, and it still is very saturated
Mhm.
as far as the music scenes are concerned. But always loved playing Oregon, Seattle. But honestly, probably my favorite thing would be playing the smaller states that don't often get bands coming through as much. So it's like a more special, even if they don't know your band, you show up and they hear there's a live show tonight and they come to the show or whatever. And like they're just stoked because they don't get this every day. Like we've
Yep.
had some of the best shows we ever had, dude. We're like no name towns in Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, uh, outskirt sectors of like Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, stuff like that. So
Awesome. Yeah. Give it to the little guys. There's always some talent out there too, and you guys can
oh yeah.
inspire so many other people that'll, eventually also choose to take the stage with their own band one day.
Well, dude, that's what we are. We were kids from a small town called St. George, Utah, which is on the border of the Utah and Nevada. We were a little bit more than an hour north of Las Vegas, and bands didn't come through our town. We had to create the scene, and that's what we did back then. None of us live in St. George anymore. We all kind of moved on from there, but like we were the small town kids that had to make, if we wanted a scene, we had to make the scene. And so we always recognized our kind, right? When we would be out on the road and see that elsewhere.
Yeah. You guys had a punk rock revolution in a small town.
We tried.
All right, my next question. Do you have any time to see new movies these days?
I'm a movie buff, and my kids, because of how busy I get, I don't have as much time anymore to go to the movies. It's not like a front of brain, so to speak. But my kids, they wear me down. We go, but I love movies, dude. I don't see them as much in the theaters anymore as I did back in the day, and it has nothing to do with the pandemic. It's been the way my life works now. Um, but yeah, I'm a huge movie buff.
Hell yeah. Can you give me one of your favorite movies that you saw last year?
Shit, dude. What did I see last year? Oh man, I so much content, bro, gets consumed that I don't even know if I could arrange it uh chronologically. I don't even know what I had for breakfast this morning, bro. Um
Completely understandable, man. No worries.
uh shoot, I don't know. Maybe it was a Marvel movie. I don't no.
Nope.
Oh, Avatar.
Oh,
Second Avatar.
Avatar.
That I
Yeah.
know for sure I went and saw in the theaters in the calendar year of 2022. So there you go.
Hell yeah. What did you think of the overall story that they did with that movie?
Look, dude, you just have to acknowledge the fact that it's Dances with Wolves in space, get over it, and then enjoy the ride, dude, because it's just so it's so much eye candy and it's so immersive and it's so well done. I mean, it's very pulp fictiony in terms of the tropes. They're not exactly bridging or I should say they're not exactly you know, digging new ground here, but I've always really enjoyed the Avatar movies. Um, but I'm one of those guys that I don't get too over intellectual when it comes to movies. What I care about is, I mean, some of my favorite movies are highly intellectual type movies. Like There Will Be Blood is like my favorite movie of all time, probably. That's not tied to like a series or a trilogy or something.
Mhm.
But like my base level is, was I entertained for that time? When I paid money to go sit down in that theater or whatever, if I turn it on my TV at home, was I entertained? Did I escape from whatever concerns were bothering me? Was I able to, be immersed in what was happening? Was I entertained? If I was entertained, then I'm not going to be too overly critical.
Hell yeah. Um, did you see Avatar in 3D?
Yeah. Yep. I
And
think after seeing the first one in 3D when it first came out, and at the time when it first came out, that was still a new thing, seeing things in 3D that were well done anyway.
Mhm.
Um, and I figured out then and there, like, if you're going to see Avatar in the theaters, make sure you see it 3D.
Yep. And did you go for high frame rate or normal?
Shoot, I don't even know, dude. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know. I did
They
have to wear
said
the glasses though.
the high frame rate looked like video game cutscenes, like the way that the
Really?
characters moved. So a
No
lot of
kidding.
people were turned off to that. I did not see it in
Wow.
that case.
That's definitely not how it was portrayed to me. So I must have not. Thankfully, I don't think I saw that version.
Yeah, you probably saw the best version. Oh man, the 3D in that movie is absolutely incredible. I just wish it was more of the Spy Kids 3D thing where like everything goes flying in front of you as
Oh,
opposed to like looking
right.
at it from angles. But yeah, it was
You got
really
a
cool.
lot of that in the first one where you could almost feel like you could,
Yep.
reach out and pop the bubble or whatever. Um, Maybe it had something to do this time around with how much water was the backdrop to everything.
Oh, the water
Uh,
was amazing though.
it was, dude, and I mean, it was its own thing. It was dope, but yeah, dude, I dig those movies, and I wonder. I'm looking forward because I know. I guess my son tells me they're making even more, so I'm stoked for that too.
Yep, they got three more on the sheet for JJ. Is it not JJ Abrams? It is JJ Abrams.
Cameron,
Cameron,
James Cameron.
James Cameron. My gosh, I can't believe I screwed that up. But yeah, they said about three more movies that they have him set for, and I think it's all going to be to do with, preserving land, preserving water, preserving whatever. If they have a Fire Nation thing, I'm going to be really excited. That'll
Amen,
look really
bro.
cool. Best way to listen to music? Do you prefer it in the car, headphones, earbuds?
I'm definitely a car guy. Uh, it's where I do, a lot of my thinking. It's where I kind of exercise the demons, so to speak. I listen to music very loud when I listen to music because I'm not a guy that like if I'm doing something, pick it busy work, whatever it might be. I usually don't listen to music because when I listen to music, it I can't help but fully pay attention to it,
Mhm.
um, and analyze it and like just enjoy it basically. And the car, in my opinion, is the best way to, even though you're driving and you've got all these other, concerns. Let's face it, when we get behind the wheel, more often than not, we're very much on kind of an autopilot. We're doing our donuts, right? We're going,
Oh yeah.
we're doing our thing. And so that's where I like to listen to music. But I just recently, it's kind of ironic because, coming from punk rock all my life, I never got into collecting 7 inches and vinyl and all that stuff. Uh, up until very recently. So I've started. collecting vinyl and building that, and I have discovered sound wise, fidelity, nothing compares to vinyl. There's a reason why people flock to vinyl. The cork sniffers of music, it's vinyl for a reason, and that's just because whatever that final mix was and when it got mastered, you get the most of that sound image when you listen to it on vinyl. The next best thing as far as fidelity, CD. MP3s are the worst, but
Yep.
if I'm going to listen to an MP3, I'll tell you this: Spotify has a lot of cool things about it, but they don't even come anywhere close
To
to
Apple.
Apple. It's not even you
Yeah.
can't even compare them. Like if you listen to a record on Apple and then go try to listen to that on Spotify, it's like you can't even compare. That's so now I found myself, even though I'm not an Apple guy, I
Mhm.
only got Apple on my phone because when the Bridge the Gap record came out, I had to create artist profiles to be able to access the, admin side of this, analytics, all this stuff. And
Yep.
so I realized I better put that on my phone. And then all it took was one time, dude. I listened on Apple on my phone. I was like, dude, I'm never listening probably to Spotify ever again. Ever, dude.
I wish I could do that. I really wish I could because I've had such a long time with Apple. Like iTunes was my first account ever to listen to music. I didn't even know there were such things as like downloading songs or anything like that. I just knew buying songs.
Right.
So when I finally got my own debit card and I got to go for a streaming service, I went for Pandora,
Mm,
and I didn't know that Pandora was only going to play like things out of order if you had the
right.
free subscription. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll try Spotify. And they're like, you have to pay. And I'm like, oh, I have to pay. Okay, well, I'll try Apple because I've used Apple. And so I got comfortable with Apple. And this is my main concern that I had with them. In 2016 or 2015, there was a decibel range change for most metal albums that dropped. So if
Really?
you were to play back to back, like let's say I put a greatest hits on CD of like Bullet for My Valentine, on the
Hmm.
Poison songs, they're quieter than sorry, not the Poison. Venom songs are quieter than the Poison.
Wow.
So like I don't know what happened, but only on Apple I can see that. I haven't had that same issue with Spotify other than the artist uploads, and I've noticed it because I hear them on YouTube as well. I'll be like, "You guys didn't mix that right, did you?" Because it's very quiet compared to your other
Well,
songs.
and that's the thing to remember though, is it has nothing to do with the labels or the artists. It's that when you upload it to those platforms, you know, my Sean Foster, a bass player in our band, the chef, he explained it to me. I was like, I wonder why Spotify doesn't make it as good sounding, lossless listening as Apple does, because they already like basically own the market, but Apple would never even be able to touch Spotify if they could meet that standard. I
Mhm.
wonder why they don't. He's like, well, it costs a lot of money, dude, to have the infrastructure to every millions of listeners, right? To each listener to have that high level. I guess I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, but I wish Spotify would get their crap together because there's so much to love about it with the playlist and all the cool aspects to it.
Yep.
But it sounds like shit. Let's
The
be real.
rendering is just not as
Or
smooth
shit.
as Apple, yeah. And Apple also has apparently the same like not decibel, the same dynamics or something range as CD. That's what one of my most recent interviews told
Dude,
me. I
it's
was
damn
like,
close. I
it's
believe it. Yeah,
crazy.
I believe it. I
Yeah, and I
believe it.
love CDs. I mean, you could see hundreds of them behind me.
Formidable collection.
Yes, it's something I'm very proud of, but at the same time I'm like I should probably sell some of these so I can get my money back, you know. But I was very happy with all of the time that I had in order to make this collection, and my favorite way of listening to music, just like you, is listening to it in the car. Like you
Yeah.
said, you have that escapism. My favorite movie is Baby Driver for a specific reason, and that is that music runs that movie, music runs the
Right.
drive. And every time that I get in the car, I feel exactly like Baby when I put my sunglasses on. I'm just like, yes, I have
Heck yeah.
escaped into the ultimate music land, and that is the best way to live.
That's dope, dude. I feel you.
Hell yeah, man. All right. So this is the final part of the interview where I ask, how can we support Bridge the Gap? That's all of you guys that are listening to this amazing man right now. Chad, dude, you're so awesome. And how can we give you so much more support to keep you even more excited for the next record?
Honestly, if you know anything, if this is the first exposure you have to Bridge the Gap, or if you came here because we retweeted it or shared it on our social media, best thing you can do is just keep listening on the streaming services. I mean, I just talked a lot of shit on Spotify, but pick your favorite streaming service: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever, Tidal, and just follow. And if you want to take it an extra level, you can go to bridgethegapmerch.com and buy some physical music, buy a t-shirt, buy a hoodie, and follow us on social media. It's easy to find us. It's Bridge the Gap on Facebook, Bridge the Gap Band, I think, on Facebook and Instagram. So it's easy to find us, and that's the best thing to do. And stay tuned for announcements for live. We will be doing a lot more stuff on that. I wish I had more to share with you on that front right this moment, but it's coming. But that's the best thing. Just keep listening to the music, and if you dig it, share it with your friends, share it with your trusted confidants. That's the greatest compliment we could ever get.
And rock out in the car every single time that they come on your playlist. You blast it. That's the only time. You have one permission, and that is to blast their music. Bridge the Gap only. As soon as it comes on, make sure your speakers are ready. Mine are not, but blast it just so that other people around the neighborhood know exactly what they can get upset with and keep punk rock spirit alive.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, dude. One of my favorite things is, sometimes when I write a song, 99% of the time the music comes first, and it starts with a riff, and then I'll build a song around that. And then once the song is built, probably 50% of the time, right off the bat, a vocal melody will come to me, and then I'll kind of write around that. But sometimes it doesn't come as quickly. And so what I'll do is I'll record a quick, like, rudimentary demo in my house, slap some guitars and drums and bass on it, and then email it to myself or whatever. And I'll get in my car and I'll just drive around with it cranked, humming and mumbling. And, Bill Stevenson, our producer on the album, he calls it fricka, where you're just like, it's nonsense words, it's gibberish, but you're basically just trying to find the right melody for the song structure. And so that's another reason why I love the car, is because some of the best melodies I've ever written have come from that exact thing. So anyway, I just went on a tangent, but
no,
thanks, brother. This has been
epic.
Lots of fun.
Epic. Love that tangent. That was actually the best way to finish it, because I was like, I needed to hear something about your producer. I had that on my list, and like, you're like, boom, slap it at the end.
Oh, dude, we could talk for another 2 hours, me talking about Bill Stevenson, because that dude is just, first of all, he's one of the kindest, most compassionate human beings I've ever met. And then he's also a savant, musical savant. Like the amount of talent that man was born with, musical talent, and then what he did to cultivate that talent throughout his entire life, working in music as the drummer of the Descendants, and then later becoming an engineer and a producer. He's not just a drummer. A lot of people, I think, might mistake that, thinking, oh, he's just a drummer and an engineer or something. But no, dude, he's a multi-instrumental, dynamic, creative dynamo, basically. And what I learned, what we all learned from him in just our short time together at the Blasting Room, was like education of a lifetime. So shout out Bill Stevenson. Much love and respect.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, thanks again for chatting with me, Chad. And for the next time that we talk, we will be talking about how your tour went, all of that. And I will also be hopefully talking to the rest of the guys. We'll figure out a time that works for everybody. But for all of you guys, thank you all for watching or listening to this awesome episode of the Media Man Dan podcast. I hope all of you have an awesome day and stay safe out there. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Media Man Dan podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome day and stay safe out there. Peace.